There are times when I do a story that I find that I have something in the story that I want to take place, and it makes it extremely difficult to do the story. It makes it extremely difficult to even bring up the story to the audience, because bringing up the story to the audience gives it's like there's no way to give the story without pushing people in a particular direction. I want Ted Cruz to lose. There's a 5-point gap between Cruz and Beto right now in Texas. We're talking about the election in Texas. I want him to lose. I want it to hurt when he has to get up and give a concession speech. I want it to burn in his soul as he sits there in some Texas posh location, watching the numbers come in, and within a 3 percentage point gap, fails. Some guy running as a lefty in Texas, just a flaming flamboyant lefty in Texas. Whether he believes it or not, or is meaning it or not, that's a secondary point, and I get to that momentarily. I'm just trying to make this point that because I want that, a certain degree of shot of fraud, I want him to sit there with his, according to Donald Trump, rough-looking wife, watching the poll results, and he failed. The man who called his wife ugly, the man who said that his wife or that his dad killed Kennedy, that guy coming out campaigning for him, and it's still not enough. I want him to fail. I want it to burn in his soul that he lost in Texas to some guy running from the left, that the red state of Texas couldn't stand his smug plastic face and chose the other guy. Catch here, though, is I also simultaneously have this dramatic dislike for this idea of focusing so much on one that you don't pay attention to the other. Meaning, people hate one, and so the behavior and the actions and the potentials for the other person don't matter as much. That, to some degree, I would argue, is this lesser evil mentality that's plagued this country. This one concentration camp less idea that if this person is incrementally less, you move over to that particular person, and you get worse and worse and worse and worse with people voter shaming as opposed to dealing with the fact that the person is getting further and further to the right. Enter Beto. Now, Beto has said certain things in this campaign, and in this particular point, I'm going to reference on site. Let's talk about energy and the environment. This is Beto's site, Beto for Senate. It is crucial now, more than ever, that the United States and world leaders act urgently to address the issue of climate change. We must ensure that the funding and the independence of organizations like the EPA and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration so that they can provide necessary climate science research. Other steps we can take to promote energy and environmental reforms include enacting comprehensive energy reform that optimizes the use of current energy sources while incentivizing the innovation of new and renewable sources of energy, rejoining the Paris Accords, empowering the EPA to exercise oversight over harmful environmental, particularly drilling, fracking, and pipeline construction, and supporting stronger land use policies in Texas. I got to be honest, this language gives across a certain idea, even though the language has a lot of wiggle room, right? It's not ban fracking, which is pretty flat out. It's not green energy New Deal. This allows a certain amount of leeway. Jordan Sheridan hasn't been just sitting on his ass. He's been out there doing reporting. He has a new piece, A Resistance with All the Trimmings of Neoliberal Corruption. Beto and Gillum star in this. In this very particular case, I get to Gillum in another video, but this one specifically, Beto. When Saudi Arabia is giving money to the Hillary Clinton camp as Hillary Clinton is Secretary of State, when Morocco is giving money to the Hillary Clinton camp as she's Secretary of State. Why do you think they're doing that? Right? I mean, the Clinton Foundation, supposedly that's supposed to be out there doing good works, according to the Clintons. Saudi Arabia is giving them this money. Now, Saudi Arabia is supposed to care about the well-being of human beings and humanity. These are the guys that are chopping off hands, chopping off heads, that had a guy murdered in the embassy in Turkey, that has been beating up journalists and imprisoning journalists and giving them lashes. These are the same guys that are out there prosecuting a bloody, murderous war in Yemen, where they are starving, murdering, and weaponizing disease against the population. It's this group that cares so deeply about human rights that they're giving Clinton Foundation millions and millions and millions of dollars. Let me disabuse you of this. It's not that they care. What they want to do is access. When Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton or Donald Trump or any of these people get money for speeches and all, it's not that the speech is worth $250,000 or $50,000. It's access. It's this idea of being in close proximity with the individual, where you can talk to, where you can shake their hand, and where you can whisper things in their ear, like, if you want more of this, be available, be aware, look out for my interests. We have a political system that runs on cash. Right here. Just so we're clear on what we're talking about. %. God damn it, Europe. You have to do this in Europe. 91%. The better funded candidate wins. Think about that. 91% of the time, the candidate with the most money wins. At that point, it's just raw probability. I just need to get more money. If I get more money than my opponent, I have a 91% chance of winning the race. What does that incentivize you to do? Be honest. What does that incentivize you to do? You're a candidate. You're running in a race. You want to be a good guy. You know that 91% of the time, the candidate with the most money wins. What are all the drives and incentives built into the system pushing you to do? Our political system runs on cash. This is somewhat of a systemic issue. It's not necessarily any one particular individual that's the problem, in as much as the individuals functioning within the system lose a certain degree of agency. Yes, you can say that people should be different, but I think people float to the lowest energy level. At least most people. Some people have this thing in them that pushes them over the lowest energy level. But 75% of the time, these guys are out there calling up for money, begging for money. And if that's your reality, you're not out there doing legislation, you're out there begging for money. If that's your reality, who are you leaning towards? I've made this argument that you have dollars and pitchforks. There's no pitchforks. You have dollars. In which case, this is your political system. And the political system has become more and more alienated from the American public. When Klobuchar comes out, it says that if the Democratic Party, the party that's supposed to be the left-leaning party and is supposed to deal with the amelioration of the working class, it's supposed to be the release valve to capitalism, comes out and says that if that particular party, the party of FDR, mentions billionaires, think about this, the party of FDR, if that party mentioned billionaires, I'd shut my wallet, I'd close my purse strings, and I'd walk away, sir. You better shut up. This billionaire snarling, spit coming from his face. The man has all the money in the world, and the only thing he can think about is holding on to Scrooge McDuck swimming in his money. The Republican Party is no different. When Donald Trump was going to pass that grotesque tax bill, one of the Republicans, I can't think of the guy's name, comes out and says, my people who are giving me money said that if we don't pass this tax bill, lose his phone number. Both parties corrupted, captured by money, with a small 1% of plutocrats investing in their political candidates, knowing that they're going to get big gains when those people get into office. The reason they give money, and the reason they give money for these speeches, the reason they have these lunches, is for access. They want to be in the same room because they know when they're in the same room, favors will come out of that system. Beto has run this campaign as a lefty. If you look at his campaign ads, you look at his posters, all of the stuff comes across in this kind of iconic Bernie Sanders. I've said Bernie Sanders made Democrats better liars. I stand by that. Look at the reporting from Jordan on this. This is status quo. On September 12th, Texas Senator candidate Representative Beto O'Rourke. Let's bring up Beto. I want you to know who we're talking about. I want you to see his face. Damn, I can't let you see his face and read the story. All right, my bad. On September 12th, Texas Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke held a reception in New York with a who's who of lobbyists and Democratic power brokers. There are 18 listed on the host party, held at a swanky music venue in the cutting room at $10,000 a pop for event chairs, $5,000 for event chairs, and $2,500 for hosts. Right here. The cutting room, 44 East 32nd Street, New York. New York, New York. Isn't it nice? $10,000 a pop. God, wouldn't that be nice? My problems will go away. One of the attendees was Tony Burgos, a fossil fuel lobbyist who has served as one of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's biggest donors, giving at least $85,000 to Cuomo personally and another $201,800 through his lobbying firm, Tonio Burgos and Associates. In addition to lobbying on behalf of hydraulic fracking pipelines, Burgos had also lobbied on behalf of United Water, Inc., now Suez North American, a privatized water company that has wreaked havoc on Atlanta and Pennsylvania, to name a few. From price hikes in for consumers to sewage overflows in Milwaukee to contaminated drinking water in Gloucester, Massachusetts, serious problems have afflicted the municipalities across the country after they turned the water or sewage systems over to Suez-owned United Water, according to Food and Water Watch. O'Rourke, dining for dollars with fossil fuel fat cats. God, I love that line. Dining for dollars with fossil fuel fat cats. I love the alliteration. Like Burgos is certainly at odds with his clean energy branding. His website touts comprehensive energy reform with a focus on new and renewable energy. It also pushes for stronger EPA regulation on fracking and new pipeline construction, which status quo is undoubtedly sure O'Rourke pushed to his fracking and privatized water lobbyists during the dinner and dessert. Now, the question, do you believe during this dinner and during this reception that O'Rourke stopped everybody to say, hey, look, we need to do something about the energy production? Or do you believe that this dinner was held with the idea of access? I contend it was access. Not to be left alone at the table, big bankers joined Big Oil. Adrian Stewart, an executive director and associate general counsel at J.P. Morgan, Stewart had himself quite a busy few years representing his criminal bank in multiple lawsuits over the pawning off of toxic subprime mortgages. Now a banker, and the toxic subprime mortgages, think of these guys were selling off, they call them liar loans. Essentially, they didn't care if people could pay them back or not, because ultimately they were going to bundle them, create some exotic instrument, and sell them off to some unsuspecting country. They knew those things were going to blow up. They were able to get a AAA rating on them, even though they knew they were going to blow up. It was fraud, flat and simple. But Obama couldn't be bothered to prosecute. Now a banker paying $10,000 for fancy bread and brushing elbows with Beto isn't necessarily sinister. But Mr. Stewart isn't just any banker, he's an executive director of the biggest bank of Americas. In fact, he sent Heartfelt props recently to his president, J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon, the very person who presided over the grand larceny of the investment bank perpetrated on the American people, along with misleading government regulators on the bank exposure to toxic subprime mortgages. As Rolling Stone's Matt Taibbi puts it so well, Dimon is a blow-dried, tirelessly self-regarding CEO who, after causing $20 billion in sanctions for the bank and helping to shatter the lives of millions of Americans, got a 74% raise. They're going to make that money up in no time. So the fact that they had to pay that money was nothing. That's why he got the raise. They wouldn't have given him the raise if he actually damaged the bank. That was the equivalent of bank robbers having a parade thrown for them after getting caught. Yeah, because it still make out in the end. Status quo assumes Stewart didn't toss Beto $10,000 out of kindness. And like the fracking lobbyists in attendance, not aligning with O'Rourke's campaign promises, dining with complicit big bank executives doesn't particularly jive with O'Rourke's championing stronger banking oversight and regulations. Neither does $824,000 he's taken from Wall Street in his 7 years in Congress. I hate doing this story. Honestly. I want Ted Cruz to lose. By the same token, it bugs the shit out of me. Alex Jones one time did a show and he said, after Donald Trump bombed Syria, he was like, can't you trust any fucking body? He said, those fucking cocksuckers. Like, he's flipping out. As much as I want Ted Cruz to lose, I also don't like this idea of misrepresenting. And I strongly believe that the lesser evil mentality has driven us to this point. By the same token, I want Ted Cruz to lose. So, let's see who's here. I mean, this is just, I guess, a heads up. I mean, I don't have this belief that these people are tossing the money for no reason. They're tossing the money for influence. Can't get away with Texan oil. What is this? Look, Jamarl, I love your show, but the thing is I don't trust Beto, and I doubt he'll win Texas, so my guess is don't bother rooting. But you don't know. Like, those are two separate things. You can distrust Beto. That I agree with you. I don't think anybody is tossing him money for no reason. I mean, they're tossing him money for influence. The thought is, if he wins, I want influence. That's what it boils down to. That influence may not necessarily be to the degree of Ted Cruz, but that is still influence. That is influence. He's giving money for influence. By the same token, you don't know if he's going to lose. You don't know. You don't know. On matters of style, swim with the currents. On matters of principle, stand like a rock. Thomas Jefferson, I love that. On matters of style, swim with the current. On matters of principle, stand like a rock. I love that. I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. Go vote, or it's Halloween the next 2 years. Kosh 963. Look, if it was me, I would vote for Beto. If I'm being honest, I dislike Ted Cruz that much. By the same token, if Beto fucked up, I will vote his ass down so bad and actively go against. Like, there needs to be accountability for bad behavior. That's what it boils down to. I don't like Ted Cruz, and I think Ted Cruz is just dramatically worse. He's so goddamn smug. Term limit, terrible Ted. Yeah, man. Terrible Ted indeed. Terrible Ted indeed. I feel the same way about Beto as I do of Ossoff. No, I don't. Come on. He's not that bad. He's not that bad. Ossoff was just a Republican. Ossoff was just a Republican. Yeah, arms race. I agree. I'm not trusting Beto. Capitalist system is inherently corrupt. It is. It just is. I mean, I don't know any way around it. Like, if you know that 91%. Oh, I'm buffering. All right, I'm going to end this and flip it over to my other internet. Jesus Christ, this internet issue, man, it's aggravating. I'll leave it on this. Yeah, goddamn, this buffering indeed. All right, let me end this and flip it over to the other device. Maybe that one works a little bit better. If not, I'll just upload the videos. Bastard. Beto is the best dose of the two candidates. Yes, I think between the two, yes. I greatly dislike Ted Cruz, so between the two, yes, I pick Beto. H.A. Goodman is backing Ted Cruz. Oh, not surprised. Not surprised. Look, I don't know. H.A. has always been nice to me and has always come on this show, but he's fucking missed the boat, man. He's missed the boat.